Yeah, let's do it.
Ralph on rim shot.
No, not the drum set.
I'm on my period.
Me too.
Great. It's just a coincidence that it's happening this weekend, but it seems really on brand. So I'm in my element. I am very nervous though, so I'm going to take off my glasses real quick. Oh my gosh, that's better. Everything's really blurry now, and I feel like if I can't see you, you can't see me. So that's a hack for anyone that ever feels self-conscious in public. I run into people and they say, Charlotte, did you get contacts? And I say, no, I'm just deeply insecure. I wanted to memorize my set, but I saw a new clip come out of Janine Garofalo performing with a cheat sheet in her hand, and that takes a little bit of the pressure off. Really excited to be at AfterMAF. Thanks so much, Ralph and Olkar, for putting this together, and everyone else that worked so hard, Simon and everyone else. Thank you guys for coming out. And special thanks to anyone that brought food with them for the potluck. You guys are the real heroes. I've got to admit, I don't actually understand avant-garde or Dada or really anything that goes on here, but I love potato salad, so there's something for everyone this weekend. Art Rat's a really special place. I heard the building was needing some repairs recently. I was wondering if whoever owns this place might have an extra yacht that we could scrap and use the wood to patch the roof. All right, let's get into it. When I was a kid, my sister got into a serious bike accident, and she ruptured her spleen and had to have emergency surgery and spend 6 weeks in the hospital. And that was really rough, but she recovered. And then a couple years later, she woke up in the middle of the night screaming in pain, just howling. And it turned out the scar tissue from her surgery was adhering to her appendix and pulling out her appendix, which was causing all the pain. So then she had to have her appendix removed. And all was well for a while until the scar tissue came back, but this time it was on her intestines, and she had to have part of her lower intestine removed. So she's really been through the ringer. Some people slip on a banana peel and fall. She tripped and fell on a banana seat. Those things will fuck you up. And after her accident, I was too scared to learn how to ride a bike. I wouldn't do it. My dad's way of motivating me was to tell me that one day I'd meet a boy and he'd ask me to go on a bike ride, but I wouldn't know how, so then I wouldn't be able to go on a date. And my takeaway was that the only reason anyone should ever do anything is in order to try and get boys to like you. And that's why I'm up here tonight, about to utterly debase myself in the name of love. Don't want to lose all my organs, but you can still have my heart. I apologize, that was awful. Yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a hopeless romantic. Emphasis on the word hopeless. Have you guys noticed how Coca-Cola is doing that thing again where they put names and terms of endearment on the side of Coke can? Yeah, it's really obnoxious. I remember the first time it happened, I had feelings for my friend Matt, but I didn't know how to tell him. So I bought him a can of Coke with the word soulmate on the side, hoping he'd pick up on the hint. And I gave it to him, and he said, oh, that's really nice. I got you a Coke too. But the one he gave me just said, buddy. The rejection's rough. This is a unique opportunity for an aspiring comedian. If you don't know the word comedian, it's just the diminutive form of the word comedian. So it means little lady comic. In other words, I hope you like pussy jokes, because I don't have any. First time I did comedy was about 10 years ago, and it went fairly well, and I was really happy about that, but then I got cocky and immediately quit my job. Didn't have another job lined up, just quit. And there's no punchline, that's just a simple anecdote about me being an idiot. If you pay attention, you may pick up on a theme. And I like telling jokes, but I'm way too lazy to ever do it as anything more than a hobby. Although there was one time when I got paid $20 to perform at a place called Billy's Barn. And I'm still not sure if that's when I peaked or if that was actually a really low point for me, but either way, things never took off from there. I live in Roanoke. I'm pretty settled here nowadays. I live alone, which is great most of the time. On a good day, my apartment's like a love nest for one. On a bad day, it's more like a cave of sadness and disgrace. I used to move around a lot. When I was in my 20s, I had about 12 different addresses, and that's too many. I finally got fed up with hauling my stuff from place to place, so I became an extreme minimalist. I got rid of all my books and my records and my clothes and my furniture, and now all I've got left is a hoodie, a frying pan, and herpes. I didn't actually get rid of all my furniture, but I did downsize from a double bed to a twin, and I like to think that the extra space leaves more room for my ambition. I work at a hot dog stand, but I do like to set goals and challenge myself. My latest project is chasing emotionally unavailable men, and unavailable men, and uninterested in men. It's more of a lifestyle than a pastime, if I'm being honest. I've met a lot of guys online, and I think the funniest thing about dating nowadays, if you want to call it that, is that the internet has turned us all into shitty amateur psychologists. You don't have to go to college, you don't even have to go to the library. All you got to do is spend 10 minutes doing a deep dive on Wikipedia, and you can successfully diagnose your Tinder date with a personality disorder. Because why else would he reject you? Yeah, thanks. It's not because you kept texting and drunk at 3 a.m. every night, okay? It's because, say it with me, he's a narcissist. He's got to work on himself. You save that free emotional labor for a rainy day. I figured out recently that dating apps are a sham. Took me a long time to figure that out. I've been swiping for a while. I've been swiping for so long, I remember when OkCupid was still just a website. It was great, you know, that was the golden age of the internet, but looking for love has always been hard. So I thought we should make a resource for people that are burned out on online dating, but they still want to meet someone. So we can make a website and it'd be called IRLcuties.com. And it's just a blank web page that says go outside. I'll never make a website though, I'm pretty inept with technology. The library, give me a second. The library prompted me to make a new password recently, because God forbid anyone hack into my account and see what kind of things I'm reading. You know, there's a book out there called Self-Compassion for Idiots. That's a true fact. And I wanted to stick with a theme, but I needed a uppercase letter and a lowercase letter and a number and a special character. So the password I came up with was books with a capital B 42069 exclamation point. And I like using an exclamation point for a password because it makes me feel like I'm screaming every time I type it in. And I think that's just modern life in a nutshell, you know, just screaming passwords into the void. Books 42069! Has anyone been on YouTube lately? Yeah. Has anyone been on YouTube without logging into your account? You should try it. It's terrifying because you get to see what's being put out to a general audience. After 20 years of data mining, the algorithm knows what I like, and that's content about attachment theory and Korean food. But the other night I opened YouTube in a private window, and it immediately suggested a video about AK-47s. And I said, no thanks, not for me. But wait, is an AK-47 an assault rifle? Yeah. Okay, I just want, I didn't do my research. The algorithm didn't know any better, it was just shooting blind. People say that AI is gonna start replacing certain kinds of workers. AI is pretty freaky. It's very ubiquitous. It's all up in the search engines. I think if anyone should be worried about losing their job to AI, it's Jeeves, the little butler that lives inside the modem. You type in a question, maybe something like, "Dear Jeeves, how do I get boys to like me?" And he sprints across the World Wide Web and returns with an answer for you on a little silver platter. Oh, so sweet. And if you don't understand that joke, then you're probably below the age bracket of people that I'm trying to date right now. I'm thinking from now on, 35 and up. You know, just a man from the CPAP community, maybe. It won't hurt if he's worn out one of the cushions on the couch when playing video games all day. The doctor told him to stop smoking weed, but he definitely still does that. And the vet actually asked him to stop smoking weed around the cat, but he still does that too. Sorry, Brad. For a while, I was matching with a lot of guys in their early 20s, and I thought that was a little young, but maybe let go and let God. And I went out with a couple of them, and I had a good enough time, but one thing I noticed is that, in general, men in their 20s are always underdressed for a first date. One guy showed up in a sweatshirt, the next guy was wearing socks and sandals, and I think on the first date, you're supposed to try and make a good impression so that whoever you're going out with will want to see you again. So you're supposed to at least pretend like you know how to fuck, and that's not the message I'm getting from socks and sandals. Turns out I was right. There are some good things about getting older. I recently aged out of giving blowjobs. I got a letter in the mail from AARP saying I'm officially exempt from now on. I think that kind of thing is for spring chickens. And at this stage in the game, I'm feeling more like a bowling alley chicken tender. You know, I paid my dues and I'm delicious. But I'm also very bad for you, very toxic. But sometimes you need a treat, so you gotta pick your poison. I've been going to a lot of 12-step meetings lately. And a lot of those meetings went online when the pandemic started, and that was kind of rough because there were a lot of Zoom bombers crashing the meetings. And a Zoom bomber is basically someone that wants to masturbate in front of you without your consent. You know, kind of like Louis C.K. Of course, like, it was upsetting when that would happen, but mostly I thought it was cowardly to do it in an online meeting. Because I'm cool, I'm not inherently against pranks. And if you felt compelled to run into a church basement with your dick out, I'd have to respect that. It's hard enough to show up with your clothes on. But I'm actually not even supposed to be here tonight because the 12-step group I'm a part of is called Open Micers Anonymous. I'm a really sick puppy, I know. But I come by it honestly because there are a lot of people in my family who have used humor to deflect from conflict and vulnerability. My family thinks I'm a Democrat, but I'm actually so far to the left that even my illness is progressive. Thanks, Ralph. I've got one more joke. It's an ancient history joke because I'm trying to punch up from now on. Basically, I'm really tired of trying to keep in touch with everyone through text. I think it's inefficient, it's distracting, it's a horrible way to communicate with your friends and family, and it's also a really hard way to try and get to know someone new. But some people take it way too seriously, you know? I had this roommate, she had a crush on this guy, things were not going well, and she was confused. So she crafted out this long text to send him and tell him how she felt. And one night we sat on her bed and she read it to me like it was a lost scroll from the library at Alexandria. Am I right, ladies?